What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to my most popular series on my channel, Ideal Offseason. For those of you that have been around the channel for any amount of time, you guys remember Ideal Offseason. It was a series that I started towards the end of last season when I had the thought, okay, there's some teams that are just at this point where they're ready for the offseason, right? There's nothing really happening for them at this point. They've either been bounced, they're not in the playoffs anymore, they're just not that competitive. So let me kind of simulate what a really realistic offseason would be. And that's what we ended up doing for every single team in the NBA. And these videos did views on my channel far and far beyond what I typically get on here. So clearly my most popular series, and I've brought it back this year. So what is Ideal Offseason? Ideal Offseason is basically where I get to put the GM cap on for a little bit and help an NBA team navigate their offseason. The goal is to be as realistic as possible and basically take a look at every single team and say, okay, realistically, what is this team trying to do right now? If we're the Washington Wizards, most likely we're not going to be that competitive next year and trying to win a championship, so we're trying to build on the little bit of success that we had this last season, right? We saw some cool things with some of the young guys, added some vets to the team, so how do we start to build upon that, right? But if we're like the Lakers and you got Luka and LeBron, we're obviously trying to contend, so we're going to be taking a look at every single team and figuring out realistic ways to do this. I'm not just going to throw LeBron on some team and say rebuild complete. We're going to be using a bunch of different tools, whether it's on Fanspo, some really accurate numbers and projections for everything, trying to make realistic deals that benefit every single team, and you're going to get to see me do it all throughout this video. And hey, before we get into it, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. It would be especially helpful if you guys could go give a watch to these Are They Ready or Do They Fit in the NBA videos. These always get demonetized like right away, but they're my favorite to do on the channel, maybe outside of Ideal Offseason. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really looking forward to doing this video, but please go give them a watch. They always get demonetized right away, but they've been performing really well. They're fun, they're educational, so please go give them a watch, because if they keep getting great views, then I'll keep making them. It's really that simple. But anyway, we've got the Phoenix Suns here on our Ideal Offseason spreadsheet. These are spreadsheets that I build to kind of help articulate and visualize the story for things. You guys know I'm always building spreadsheets for things, and you actually can get access to this spreadsheet so that you can make your own Ideal Offseason. All you have to do is join the Discord. Link is down in the description to go join it, and there's going to be a link in the announcements channel where you can go and grab it there. It's really that plain and simple, and I'm going to be updating that sheet constantly so that you guys can get the most up-to-date numbers and information on it at all times. But you can also post the ideal off seasons that you create, because we have a channel for that as well, and so I think that that's kind of a fun thing to do with the community. But here's the interesting thing. I did not expect to be doing Ideal Offseason this early, because here's what constitutes me making an Ideal Offseason video, because we're going to do it for every single team in the NBA. Basically, their draft picks need to be determined already, and their season needs to be done. Obviously, lottery teams, lottery hasn't happened yet, right? So a lot of teams, like, we're just gonna knock them out like one after the other once the lottery happens, because there's like a month between when the lottery happens and when the draft happens, so we'll have plenty of time to kind of do that. But the Suns are in this really shitty situation where they didn't make the playoffs and they have no draft selections. So yeah, and I shouldn't say they have no draft selections. They do have a draft pick or two this year. It's just they're not in the lottery. And we all know the Suns had this really, really not so great season. There's a lot of talent on this team, but it couldn't come together whatsoever. Seems like they're kind of cleaning house again and starting over. We've all heard the Kevin Durant rumors. I can almost guarantee you we're going to be trading Kevin Durant in here. And as crazy as that might sound, it's probably realistic. It doesn't seem like he's going to be here anymore. But what are we going to do with Bradley Beal? What are we going to do with Devin Booker? That's what we're going to try to determine here. So what we're going to go over is we're going to go over the roster, we're going to go over their cap situation, their draft picks, all of that stuff, and we're going to try to build them out a roster for next season. And so what's the goal for this next season? How do we want to be building this team? When I look at this team, right, who they don't have any of their draft picks going forward, right? Really, really crappy situation, right? There's no incentive here to be bad, and considering the fact that I'm guessing we're going to hold on to Devin Booker in this video, I'm guessing, we'll see where we end up going with things if something makes sense, but I'm going to presume that Devin Booker is going to still be on the team, and so we don't want to just roll out a BS team for this guy. We need to get some NBA players around him. We got to find a way to put some real NBA players around him still to try to keep this team as competitive as possible. Like, our goal should be to try to make the playoffs within reason, right? I look at this team and I go, okay, we're going to need some draft picks in some capacity, right? Because we also don't want to be just like waiting for something to happen. Like, let's try to accumulate some picks, but let's also try to keep the balance of keeping real and like solid NBA players on the team. And so that's going to be a tough thing to balance. This is just going to be a tough one for me to execute on, but we're going to figure it out, man. I don't prep for these videos beforehand, so we're going to figure it out. But let's start off with draft picks. I think that that's probably a fair way to go about this. So this is what we got for draft picks to use. We have a Cavaliers first-round pick. That's pick number 29 right now. So yeah, late first-round pick. The good news for us is that's a cheap player to put on our roster, and this is a good draft class, so we might be able to find something there. We also have a second-round pick, pick number 53. Cool, like, I'll use it, right? Again, it's another cheap way to add somebody to the roster. It's not going to be very expensive. We'll see if we end up giving them an actual contract, because 53 is pretty late. Maybe they'll just end up getting a two-way deal. It's hard to say. And then looking ahead, there's not much to look forward to. We've got a pick that'll either be Denver or Golden State next year. We've got a 2027 that's got like multiple different teams. It could be 29 first round pick, and then there's a bunch of different teams that one could be. So we're really not working with a ton of draft picks. I would love to walk away from this video with a few more draft picks at our disposal by the end of it. Looking at the cap space numbers itself, you'll probably see a lot of red on here. This is not the prettiest thing in the world to see. For those of you unfamiliar for how the NBA cap system works, there's basically 4 levels. And I'm going to try to explain this one in a little bit more depth in this video so that I can reference it in future ideal off seasons to be like, hey, if you want an in-depth breakdown of these, go watch the first one in the series. So basically, there's a cap line in and of itself, right? Every single sport has a cap number. So you always hear teams like, oh, this is an over-the-cap team, this is an under-the-cap team. That's the first one. When this hits 0, they've crossed the cap. Then we have a luxury tax line right here. Once this hits 0, it means that your team gets way more expensive, right? The NBA is making you pay more for having a very expensive team. What the NBA has recently done is add 2 new levels to it, these aprons. And these aprons were put in place because the NBA was sick of star players being traded like all the time. Kevin Durant, James Harden, right, Kyrie Irving, guys like that. They were sick of those guys just getting traded all the time. It's better for the league and better for popularity when guys just stick around. We know that to be a fact. That's just a known statistic that the NBA has, and they don't like the rhetoric that goes around of guys just being moved all the time, even though it is fun to talk about sometimes. So these aprons were put in place that say, hey, when you cross these, we're going to start penalizing you even more. Basically saying, if you've got a really, really good basketball team, right, because they're getting more and more expensive, we're going to start restricting what it is that you can do, and we're going to lock you into the rosters that you have. So you better be really confident you're a contender. Otherwise, we're going to start locking you up. And this is the unfortunate side of things, is that, as you can see, we are $7 million over the second apron. So this team is as restricted as it can possibly be. If your team crosses the first apron, you'll see a bunch of notes here of things you can't do. You can't acquire a player via sign and trade. You can't use any portion of your biannual exception. Using more than the taxpayer portion, I could try to explain that to you in an easier way, but basically, it's hard to use your mid-level exception with this one. Signing a player that was waived during the current season if his pre-waiver salary was more than the mid-level. So basically saying you can't participate in the buyout market for any good basketball players is what that's saying. And you can't take back more than 110% of the salary you send out in things. So in this case, if you traded somebody for $10 million, right? It'd be, or maybe I should use $100 million, right? Let's just say that's how much that person costs. The most you'd be able to take back is $110 million in a trade. In our case here is Phoenix, we are a second apron team, and this is where things get really complicated. Now you can't use any of the mid-level exception whatsoever. You can't put multiple players together into a trade to get one. So as we were just saying, you can't take back like $110 million for $100 million. Right now, I can't put together $50 million and $50 million to get that $110 million. I can only send one player for one player. It's got to be even, which really makes it hard to trade star players, right? Because then you basically have to get a star player back, and teams aren't always wanting to do that. You can't send out cash as a part of the trade. You can't acquire a player that was traded or using a traded player exception, and you can't take back any more than 100% of things. So salaries either have to match or you have to go back down, and that's where we're at right now, is we can only go back down in salary, which does make things more complicated, right? It just does. And something to set an expectation for right away is because of how all these trade rules are set up, star players aren't going to go for what they used to, right? Just because it's so hard. Us trading Kevin Durant, You used to get good players for Kevin Durant, a Mikal Bridges, a Cameron Johnson, and picks, right? That's just probably not going to happen anymore, right? We're going to try to get some good players back for him, but more often than not, you're just going to lose when that happens. And so it is kind of admitting defeat by doing that. Is what it is. It's what we got to do. If I can go and break down the roster now, let's talk about what we kind of got going on here. By the way, this depth chart is just a projection right here. This is kind of what I've drawn out based on who's currently on the roster. I'm not suggesting that Micic should be starting for the Suns next year, right? I'm just showing who's on the team at this very moment, right? And this is going to adjust as we go throughout the video. So we've got a roster over here. You're going to see a name, a salary, whether or not there's an option for this offseason. You'll see Micic has a team option here. How many years left are there? This 1 year left, meaning like, hey, this next season would be Kevin Durant's last year on his deal. And then we got some numbers over here. What are these? These are EPM numbers, and you can get these numbers from like dunks and threes, or there's not many other places that actually do estimated plus minus, and you should go read about those. They're really cool statistics, but basically this is a way of attributing an actual number to somebody's skill set on offense and defense and just overall as a player. It's a pretty impactful stat, in my opinion. It's one of the best that we have out there. It's really, really complicated, like extremely complicated, but I think it's a cool thing nonetheless. So basically, this tells us that Kevin Durant is the 95th percentile overall on offense. He's about 68th defensively, and he's about 93, 94 overall in general. These statistics are never perfect, right? There's a lot of things that still affect him, like fit and stuff, like Devin Booker being the 8th percentile defensively. Yes, he did not have a very good defensive season. We know Devin Booker can be a good defensive player, like we've just seen it before, so there's a lot of things that impact that, but this year, Devin Booker was not a very good defensive player, right? Just is what it is. He was an awesome offensive player, but this is what we got. So let's break down each of the guys in this team. So Kevin Durant is very, very good at basketball. He's probably not going to be on this team going forward. Despite him being as old as he is, he's still one of the best players in the NBA. He's still unguardable. There's not much you can do to stop Kevin Durant. Bradley Beal, he is the butt of almost every joke, it feels like, and it's mostly because of his contract. Bradley Beal still was giving you 18 points a game, 18, 19 points on really, really good efficiency this year. So I don't know. I see Bradley Beal as still a pretty valuable player in the NBA. Like, yes, is he overpaid? Sure. That doesn't make you very smart to say that. We often say on this channel, if you think Bradley Beal's bad at basketball, that kind of tells me enough about how much basketball you watch. Bradley Beal's really, really good. Is he overpaid at this point? Sure. It's what happens, right? There's going to be a lot of people that are overpaid at points in their career, but Bradley Beal's been awesome for a long time. Devin Booker, he's been with this team for forever. This guy has taken a team to the finals before, right? And when you look back at that team, you had Mikal Bridges, you had Cam Johnson, both good players that were pretty young at the time. You had a DeAndre Ayton, you had Chris Paul, that went a long way. But like Devin Booker's been able to drag a team to the finals before. I like to believe he can still do it again. He's one of the best we have in the game, still at like a 93rd percentile overall. Very cool. Grayson Allen, still one of the best shooters we have in the NBA. Defense has fallen off quite substantially, but offensively still a good weapon. Potentially a good trade chip for us. Royce O'Neal, kind of that 3-and-D guy, right? Model of consistency all the way across. So very, very valuable player to have on the team. Good vet. Could be a good guy to keep around long term, but he also could be a nice potential trade piece. Hard to say. Cody Martin and Micic and Nick Richards, all guys that came over from Charlotte trades this year. Cody Martin has struggled to get anything going offensively this season. He hasn't quite been able to find the jumper. Even finishing at the rim has been tough at points, but defensively, dude's pretty damn good, right? Dude is pretty damn good. Then you have Micic, the point guard. He just had a rough season. He had a really, really rough season. And so I'm going to tell you right away, we are not going to be accepting Misic's team option here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take him off the roster just like that. He's gone, right? And look at this. All of a sudden, we are back under the second apron as well, which is pretty valuable to see. So that's something that we're going to want to note right away, is that Micic coming off the team, there's not a point in keeping him. He's not a good enough player, and we're in such a cap hole right now that it wasn't worth keeping him. I would have to imagine he's going to be back overseas before you know it. Nick Richards, one of the more valuable contracts in the NBA. He had such a good start of the season with Charlotte while Mark Williams was out, and then he came to Phoenix, where everything has just been if you watched any Phoenix Suns basketball this year, it was just a complete disaster what they were doing on the court. I'm not surprised the coach got fired at all. There was, like, don't get me wrong, Nick Richards had some really goofy moments on the court, but there was also just moments where it's like, what are they doing with Nick Richards right now? Like, they've got him like short rolling certain things, and like I don't know, it was really, really weird. I still like Nick Richards a lot as a player. I think he's a very serviceable center. He's extremely talented and he's cheap, so can't really complain about that whatsoever. Ryan Dunn, one of the rookies from this last season. What did we see out of Ryan Dunn offensively? Struggled quite a bit. He still actually came in as like a 52nd percentile for things offensively. He had a really good start to the year, and he kind of fell off, and they kind of threw him out of the rotation towards the end of the year. Defensively, his on-ball stuff was awesome. His instincts are really good. We know he's a good defender. This is a guy we want to keep around for the future. Then we have Oso Ighodaro, the other rookie from this last season. Some of the things I noticed out of him is, like, I wish he was better at, like, having like an actual offensive skill set, but I think he's a sneaky good passer. He plays physical enough, solid enough rebounder, so I don't mind Ighodaro necessarily. I'd like to keep him on the team at the very least because he's very cheap, and we've got him under contract for a while. He had a good defensive season, and we can start to work on the offense. So cheap way to fill out the roster. We've got 6 roster spots left. These are just some averages right here, so you can kind of get a sense for where we're currently at. We've got a pretty good offensive team, no surprise here because of these 4 guys right here. It helps having a Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Defensively, like, not horrible, but because, like, if you were to take, like, Devin Booker out, like, it would shoot up quite a bit. He had a pretty rough season. Again, Devin Booker can play defense as well. And then overall, this is where we're kind of finding ourselves at this very moment. So this is a good team on paper. And again, I think so much of this team this season was bad coaching. I really think it was bad coaching. So I'd like to almost run this team back, but you can't. There's no way you can run this team back. There is no way you can do that. So here's what we're going to do now. We've got a lot of needs. We've got no point guards on the roster. We've got guys that can be point guard adjacent in Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, but we need to add a point guard to this team. We've got to get Kevin Durant off of this team, which is going to be complicated in and of itself. And we're trying to keep this team competitive while also acquiring some draft picks. I don't want to send draft picks out in this. I really don't want to. I think that would be idiotic of us to do. I would like to use both of these picks that we have here because we're an expensive basketball team, and that'd be a good way to kind of fill out the roster in a cheap way. We don't want to be a second apron team. If we can avoid being a first apron team, I think that would be a success. I'm going to be okay with us being a luxury tax team just because, again, I want this team to be competitive still because there's no point in being bad, so we might as well pay the tax, right? It's just, we want to be able to make moves still, so I'm going to try to avoid the aprons if we can. But anyway, let's move on to Fanspo, where we can start doing some of these trades. Alrighty, also, this is Fanspo. For those of you that aren't familiar, if I don't know how you're not at this point, but this is basically a really cool website where you can do a bunch of different things like trade simulations, make billboards, do mock drafts, do lotteries, and they have a bunch of cool resources to look at as far as like NBA stuff. I think they do NFL as well, so kind of a cool thing there. So we're going to be doing trades on here, and then we're going to go do a mock draft, and then we'll do free agency. That's because that's the order that things would typically happen. They could intermix a little bit, but you know what I'm saying. So looking at this team, right, this is what we got. And already I just want to modify Misic's contract here and say that we have declined him. So Misic is now not a part of this team anymore. Misic is gone. So that affects our cap numbers. We want to trade Kevin Durant. Where are we going to trade Kevin Durant to? That's the big question. We want this to be as realistic as possible. So when you go and you think about the teams that can trade for Kevin Durant, right, like the Miami Heat are a team that come up pretty frequently. If we were to look at some other ones, I know I've seen some Sixers rumors just in like Paul George type trades. The Houston Rockets are a team that's going to come up. When I think about the Rockets, I start to think, okay, yes, are they missing their 1A option? Yes. Do we really want to add 36, 37-year-old Kevin Durant, though, to this young core? That feels like for what we're going to be giving up, which it might not be that bad, all said and done, but I don't know. This feels like not the move for them. I don't feel like Kevin Durant, while I'm sure they will go for him, I don't think it makes a ton of sense. I'm sure the Lakers would get in on it if they could. I'm sure the Nuggets would get in on it if they could. The Timberwolves are certainly an option, but I think the team I want to go and try to move him to is the Memphis Grizzlies here. I think this is where I want to go, and there's a couple reasons why. They've got valuable players because they're a really deep team that they can give us that can help us kind of remain competitive in the short term. They've got draft picks that they can use as well, and they need a wing like something serious, right? They need a Kevin Durant on their team. That's blatantly obvious. So what can we do to move Kevin Durant to this team is the question. So let's start this off. Kevin Durant going over to the Grizzlies right here, and this is almost certainly going to become a 3-team trade, so just bear in mind with me as I work this out in my head. How do I want to do this? Oh, by the way, we're going to be doing like multiple trades in this one instance. You can't like do a trade and then save it on Fanspo. I wish that's a feature they would add. Fanspo, if you're watching, please add that feature. It'd be amazing. It would take you guys to the next level of things. But by the end of this, it's going to look like a 5-team trade has happened. It's multiple trades in one instance, so just be aware of that. By the way, word of the video for this one is going to be KD. Just somehow slip KD into your comment. That way I know you're a real one. I do this in every video. What do we want from them? We'd like some young players, right? We would certainly like some young players because there's some talented, cheap players here that I think could be helpful to us. We're going to want some sort of draft compensation as well. Desmond Bane is almost certainly going to have to be part of the deal because of financial reasons, right? They're taking on a lot of money in Kevin Durant. Somebody's going to have to go. You're not going to lose Ja or Jaren, but you'd probably give up Desmond Bane, who's a really good basketball player, right? I mean, if we were to pull up Desmond Bane here, you're going to see this is a really, really good basketball player. But you're going and getting Kevin Durant. You've been looking for that wing for a long time. That's probably the way you got to go. I don't necessarily want to take on Desmond Bane. I feel like I'd rather get something a little bit cheaper. So I might be routing Desmond Bane somewhere else because I also feel like him and Devin Booker kind of do the same thing, but Desmond Bane in a lesser way. So, like, Bane obviously much more consistent defender because he has to be, right? He doesn't carry an offensive load like Devin Booker does. But who are the people that we want? Brandon Clark almost certainly has to come over, and I don't mind having Brandon Clark. Sounds like he's going to be avoiding off-season surgery this year, so that's fine. He's a solid player that can play some backup center type stuff for us. He's a nice lob threat. He's got good energy, gets rebounds. Cool. We like the energy. Who else would we want? I'm looking at like a GG Jackson right here. I think GG Jackson, I mean, we all saw what he did in his rookie season. We were like, wow, this guy looks phenomenal. Then he was hurt for most of this last season, came back, and this team was extremely deep, so he didn't get out there. GG Jackson is somebody that I want because I think this guy could be I legitimately think this guy could be a stud in the NBA. He's super athletic, he can shoot, he can put the ball on the floor a little bit, he's super talented. I want GG Jackson back in this trade. We're giving you Kevin Durant, so you got to give me back GG Jackson in this one, and we're probably going to have to take back at least one other player. I would love to have Scottie Pippen Jr. on this team. I would absolutely love it, because if we take a look at Scottie Pippen Jr.'s numbers, it's at defense. Having a defensive-minded point guard that could go and actually like play make a little bit as well, I think that would be cool. The other one I'm looking at is Jalen Wells. They would get, like, Jalen Wells is probably going to come in like second place for Rookie of the Year votes this year, but I think that you would give up Jalen Wells in a second if it meant you got Kevin Durant. You would. But I think I'll go with Scotty here just because I need the point guard more so than anything else. And look, this team will go and they'll find another backup point guard. It's whatever. Scottie Pippen Jr. is awesome, but you got to give up something to get Kevin Durant. So I think that's what you end up doing here. There's going to have to be picks involved as well, but we got to find a place to reroute Desmond Bane. And who could use a Desmond Bane is the question. I'm looking through teams, and this has got to be a team that's kind of on the come up, right? Somebody that could use an injection of a Desmond Bane that could help them out defensively, that needs a little bit more shot making. So who would that be? It's not going to be the Sixers. They can't make that trade. It doesn't make sense for the Nets or the Raptors. You could get the Heat involved. I don't think the Heat would want to be involved in this deal, though, unless they were the ones getting Kevin Durant. And Bradley Beal and Tyler Hero, again, kind of feels like a redundancy in some aspects. The Hawks, probably not. The Magic, potentially. The Magic potentially would be a nice player for them. That's a lot of money for them to take on, though, in Desmond Bane, so I'm not sure we're going with that. The Blazers? Maybe the Trailblazers. I'm not sure they want to take on that much money. The Spurs. I know what I want to do. The Spurs could take on a Desmond Bane, right? I think Stephon Castle, you probably have to be okay with him kind of coming off the bench next year, just because I'm not sure how he works next to a De'Aaron Fox right now anyway. You got guys like Vassell. There's kind of some redundancies there. I would like to have a Devin Vassell on the Phoenix Suns, a younger guy. We can give him a few more touches, can put him in a different system, kind of let him go off, and he's a little bit cheaper and he's locked up for a while. Like the 27 million is actually a pretty good contract for the level of production that you can get from Vassell. And I mean, you can get 20 points per game from him on any given night. And here's the real reason I want Vassell, right? Because is he going to help me win a championship? No, but he's going to most likely keep me competitive, and if the right player becomes available, because here's the thing, right? Here's how we have to think long term with this, is we're trying to build back to championship level. Nobody's signing with us in free agency right now. It's just not happening. Free agency's hardly even a thing at this point, and we don't really have the trade assets. Devin Vassell is a tradable contract and a productive player. That's the kind of guys we want on this team, right? So I want to take in a Devin Vassell because he's a tradable guy. So let's move him over to the Suns here, and let's move Bane over to the Spurs. Where are we at with this trade at this very moment? It's failed. They need to cut another $2 million. Okay, that's easy enough to do. Plus the Grizzlies, they've given up a lot of depth here anyway. We're going to make them give up somebody. You look at Branham here as a guy that had an improved three-point shot this last year. That's a wing that they can bring off the bench. Who have they given up at this point? They've given up Bane, Scottie Pippen Jr. They've given up really a bunch of different positions so far. You're not going to be giving up any of these guys. You're not giving up like a Keldon Johnson in this move. That just doesn't really make sense because you've already given up Vassell. So I think you move Branham over to the Grizzlies here, and then this works financially. Okay, this works financially, but we have to supplement this with some draft picks. What's happened here? I have traded the best player in this, so I get the most draft picks, right? I traded Kevin Durant, and they gave me some good young players in Scottie Pippen. I got Vassell back. I got Gigi Jackson. The Spurs got an improved player in Desmond Bane. They took on a little bit of money, but they got a better player, so they now have a De'Aaron Fox, Desmond Bane, Wemby. They got Castle. They're feeling good about themselves. The Grizzlies finally got their wing, and they got somebody that can at least play NBA minutes. I don't ever think Malachi Branham's the smartest player, but is what it is, right? And I got role players in Devin Vassell, and hopefully somebody in Gigi Jackson I think is good. So first things first is the Grizzlies have to give up picks, right? What are they giving me? I don't even need something all that recent because I want assets, right? Like a Grizzlies like 2026 or like any of these 2026 first round picks aren't going to help me that much in the short term, right? Well, like we got to think a little bit more long term with here. So I want like, give me this like 2028 first round pick. That's what I want from you. I want it unprotected coming back to me. I traded Kevin Durant to you. You have to give me a first round pick. No, gone are the days of getting like 5 first round picks. It just doesn't happen. So is what it is. And then you probably got to give me at least like a second round pick, I think is what you have to do. So looking at this right here, it might even be more because you think about it like what are the Grizzlies doing? They're giving up depth, which sucks, but you know what? You still have quite a bit of depth on this team. You lose Bane. Is it 2 second round picks? It might be 2 second round picks. Give me this Atlanta second round pick, because who knows what Atlanta's going to look like by 2027. Give that to me. And then also give me another 2026 pick so I can potentially use that with something. So give me this 2026 second round pick as well. So I'm going to take those. And then looking at the Spurs should have to maybe give up something in this. And maybe that's where we can supplement things more. Maybe you can keep this one. The Spurs have to give up something because they upgraded from Desmond Bane or from Devin Vassell to Desmond Bane, which is a decent enough jump, at least in my opinion, and they have so many picks. Actually, you're going to give me 2 second round picks. I think that that's a fair way to go about it. You're going to give me not yours, not Minnesota's. Give me this Pelicans second round pick. That one seems pretty solid. The Pelicans, who knows what they look like at that point. And then you also have a 2029 Pelicans one, and you have a Clippers one. Give me this Clippers 2029 second round pick. So let's take a look at this trade now and see what we've got here. We've moved Kevin Durant. We have, and we've taken back Devin Vassell, nice player. Brandon Clark, serviceable. Scottie Pippen Jr. could start for us next year. Gigi Jackson, hopefully start for us next year. And we got some picks back. It's only 1 first round pick, but that's kind of the market that we're at this moment in time. Kevin Durant goes over to the Grizzlies. They also get Branham, and all of Desmond Bane gets to go to the Spurs. So I like this trade. I think it's pretty fair for the most part. Let's go reflect it in our sheet. Alrighty, let's add our picks here. So these are all the new picks that we've acquired here. That's cool. Kevin Durant is no longer on this team. He is gone. There goes Kevin Durant from this. But who did we pick up? We picked up Devin Vassell here. We also picked up G.G. Jackson in this. We picked up, who else did we pick up in this? We got Scottie Pippen Jr. and Brandon Clark. So give me Scottie Pippen Jr. and give me Brandon Clark here. So we have saved quite a bit of money in this move. That's good. Let's try to fit in let's try to fit these guys in somewhere into our current depth chart so that we can see. Give me G.G. Jackson as a starter right here. Then I'm going to move Devin Booker over to point guard just for right now, just for simplicity's sake. We're going to move Devin Vassell over here to kind of the small forward spot, is what I'm thinking. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I'd rather just have Scottie Pippen Jr. here, and then we'd go like Booker, Beal off the bench, most likely. And again, we're probably going to end up making more moves from here. But let's just kind of say that this is what we're going with, and then we'd move Iguodaro down one spot for Brandon Clark here. Okay, so we've made the first move, right? What else do we want to do? I'd like to trade... I probably want to trade Bradley Beal now. Now, I've heard some things about him potentially just being cut or like bought out in something or something like that. Bradley Beal would be valuable to someone, so it's probably going to be a team that's a little bit younger. They're on the move a little bit, like they could use a little bit of veteran experience. They're younger. They need a little bit of help, right, in some capacity. So where can we move him to? What team is that going to be? Looking at the not as good young teams, the Jazz, it feels a bit early for them. The Pelicans, they probably don't want to take on that money right now. The Blazers make a lot of sense, and they've got a lot of guys that are tradable. They had a good end of the season. They need shooting. They need a veteran leader on the team. Yeah, the Trailblazers are where we got to send him somehow. So who are we going to take back in a Bradley Beal trade is the question. Who are we going to take back in a Bradley Beal trade? Well, there's the obvious ones here of like DeAndre Ayton's on the team. You could take him back. I'd probably prefer not to take back DeAndre Ayton. Jeremy Grant, it's a long contract. Robert Williams is on a 1 year, and he's lost a ton of trade value because dude just can't stay healthy whatsoever, but he's an interesting basketball player. I don't mind like a Matisse Thybulle. I always find him somewhat valuable just because the defense is so elite and he's become a solid shooter. Is it easy enough to do a Bradley Beal over to the Blazers? We take back Jeremy Grant, because while Jeremy Grant has dropped in value somewhat considerably, right? Like he's kind of just below average as a player at this point. It saves us some money. Yes, it's 1 more year, but it does give us more cap flexibility, which again is something that we are trying to go for. And he can play some NBA basketball, right? There's no doubt about that with Jeremy Grant. And then do I take back a Matisse or a Robert Williams? Maybe a Robert Williams. I don't know. Maybe I'd rather have Matisse. So let's mess with this a little bit. So send Matisse back to the Suns. We take on Jeremy Grant, which again, we're maybe not excited about, but it is what it is. Unless we want to do like an Anthony Simons. Is that easier? I don't think it makes sense to do an Anthony Simons Bradley Beal swap. I think they'd rather get rid of Jeremy Grant in this one. The Blazers take on less money in the long term, right? Or in the short term by doing this, which is probably a good way to be thinking about things because it frees them up from the Grant contract a year sooner, basically. And they get a good veteran presence that can contribute to them right away. So does that trade work in and of itself? It does. Okay, do we feel the need to supplement this anymore with draft picks? Because this might be one where we look at each other and we say, look, you're taking on Bradley Beal and all of his money. And they're like, okay, you're taking on Jeremy Grant and all his money for more time. To which I go, yep, you're right about that. And I'm like, I'd rather have a cheaper team this season, which I get by doing this, right? I save quite a bit of money. They get Bradley Beal, who's just going to be better for them right now, and it frees up some rotation minutes for other guys, right? That's probably not the worst thing in the world. I don't think this is such a bad trade. I think we can honestly just leave it here. So let's just say this is now Jeremy Grant. That saves us some money in and of itself, but we've also taken on, who else did we just take on? We took on Thybulle here, which, again, solid rotational piece, right? Like, we don't mind Matisse Thybulle at all. So Bradley Beal no longer on this team. We can move Grayson Allen up a spot here. Where does Jeremy Grant fit in? Like, I guess a starter role for right now. I would hope that G.G. Jackson will be the starter before you know it, but whatever. We've got a competent NBA player in Jeremy Grant on the team. Cool, fair enough. And then Matisse Thybulle, where does he fit in? Probably here at kind of this wing position here. Honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Matisse as the backup, Ryan Dunn there, and then we're going to put Mr. Cody Martin there. That's kind of how I'm viewing things. We have 2 roster spots left. I'd like to make at least one more move because I think we can get assets for Grayson Allen, and I don't think we need Grayson Allen now that we have Devin Vassell on the team. And we've got some other like solid wings on this team as well that we could throw in at the 2 if we absolutely need to. We are certainly weak at the guard position right now, but I'm not tripping about that. And we're under the luxury tax right now, which is cool. Who could use Grayson Allen is the question, right? Who could use Grayson Allen? Who needs shooting in a really tough motherfucker? That's the question. That is the question. Nope, it's a really easy answer, actually. It's the Orlando Magic. The Magic need shooting. We know that. This isn't going to be the shot creator what they need, but they need that. And he fits the culture of being a tough-minded dude. Can be probably a solid defender. He wasn't that great this season, but he's been a solid defender at points of his career. And they have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, which is not a good contract for them. We would take on more money, but we want the draft picks for Grayson. I'm okay with taking on KCP, right? Like, he didn't have a very good season at all, but here's the thing. It's less time for us, which is good. We free ourselves up financially a little bit quicker. KCP can be a solid contributor on a team. He can be. He's at least a solid NBA player if put around the right people. I'm not sure this is exactly going to be the team for him in that sense. I can almost guarantee you it won't be, but I can live with it if it means I'm going to get some draft picks out of it. I'll downgrade myself a little bit to get that. So we're going to send Grayson Allen to the Magic. We will take KCP off your hands. I know, we are so nice. And these are separate trades, right? These are separate trades that are all happening. And now what do I want? You got to give me like a 2nd round pick or something in return for this as well. Maybe 2? Maybe 2? What do I want? What do I want from you? Where are my picks currently sitting at? I've only got one 2026 one, so maybe I could take another one. So give me your 2nd round pick for this next year, because that one's probably not going to be very good. And then we're freeing you quite a bit because we're taking on KCP. So give me this 2030 Milwaukee one as well, which might be somewhat valuable. So now we've added a Magic 26 2nd round pick. I have to check to see if this trade even works. And then a Bucks 2030 2nd round pick right here, right? That's what we ended up doing. Is that what we ended up sending over in this trade? Let's try the trade. Does this work outright? It does. Cool. And yep, we pick up this 2030 2nd. Cool. Magic get Grayson Allen. There you go. Very good for you guys. Happy for you guys. That's awesome. And this means that we have changed Grayson Allen into Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, which gets us a lot better defensively, if anything else. So I guess that's kind of cool. But where do we go from here, right? Where do we go from here? So this is now Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We've got a solid, like, NBA roster. It's not a bad roster by any means. We've got a couple scores. We've gotten way better defensively. We've dropped offensively. We've got 2 roster spots left, and we've got 2 draft picks. It might just be that simple. This might just be what we're filling out the roster with. So we're going to have an end of the first round pick. Got to probably go point guard to some extent. We can try to find one of the older point guards at the end that can hopefully kind of help play right away. So that's what we're going to be looking for. And then 2nd round pick, we'll see what's available. But at least it'll be a cheap way to probably keep us out of the aprons, right? We should be able to stay out of the aprons. So let's hope we can do that. Let's go into the draft. Alrighty, y'all, so here's the Fanspo mock draft right here. So basically what's happening is we have taken control of the Suns in this one, and it's simulating what it thinks is going to happen as far as like the NBA draft right now. And once we get to our pick, we'll get to pick somebody here. I'm not sure who's going to be available at this point, but this is kind of a way to add a little bit of realism to it, to be like, okay, in this simulation, who got picked where, and what options do we have at our disposal for the draft. We definitely want a guard, so if a guard's available here, that would be really, really good, because again, looking at the team, we need some more point guard help, so I'll be curious to see who's kind of available at this point. There goes Boogie Flan. That would have been a guy we could potentially look at. All right, who's still on the board? Who is still on the board? We have picked 29, and we are up. Alrighty, so I already see Cam Jones. He played a little bit of guard this last season. No videos available right now, but he's a scoring guard. He can play a little bit of defense. He's a little bit older. We do like that. Oh, Walter Clayton's left. Oh, shit. Why do they have him as a shooting guard? Dude is definitely a point guard. If you haven't already, go watch the Walter Clayton video that we did. It was a lot of fun in this one, but I like Walter Clayton a lot. He's a guy that should be ready to play right away at the NBA level, like at least in a solid sense as a role player. He can shoot the basketball. He plays under control. He's mature. This feels like a really easy pick. Let me look to see if I'm missing anybody else here, like a Tyrese Proctor. No, I'd much rather have Walter Clayton. Janai Broom, I like a lot. Cam Jones is cool, but this is easy. We pick Walter Clayton here, and we move on. So this is how much money Walter Clayton would then make for us. He has no options. We would get him for 4 years with this. He's not going to have any numbers behind him because he's a rookie, but we can then slide Walter Clayton in here to be our backup point guard right away. So that's great. So I think that was probably the best that could have gone. I didn't even think about Walter Clayton being available there, but that would be awesome if we could get him in the first round. We lock him up for a couple years. He's cheap, and whoever we get with this second round pick, like, it's not going to be expensive. It's going to be as much as Iguodaro was here, right? That's how much that this person is going to be paid, because that's just like second round pick salary type stuff, and we're going to lock them up for 4 years on these like second round pick scaling contracts. So that's what we're going to be looking for in this. But who's going to be available? What position? It'd probably be good to get another guard. Again, I wouldn't mind having more of a veteran person to kind of come in and play that other guard spot, but we'll see what's available here. What pick do we have exactly? We have the 53rd. So 53rd pick, here we go. 51, 52. Oh, we have the 52nd pick now. Is that how that ended up working out? Because I know we just did like the coin flips and everything. So maybe we have this one. There's Darian Williams, could be something. Cedric Coward. I don't mind Jaleel Bethea. He's kind of interesting. Kobe Bray. Jameer Watkins, Marcus Sears. Oh, he's a little too close to what we had in Walter Clayton. Sion James is an interesting one. A Duke guy. Caleb Foster. Man, there's not much left here at the end. I like Grant Nelson a lot. I like him a lot as a player. So maybe a potential option there is kind of a dynamic, interesting player that would put people in their seats. There's no question about that. But I think I want to go guard here, most likely. I don't mind the Sion James pick. He's got a little bit of playmaking to him. He's a little bit more mature. So if we take a look at him, right, another senior coming in, like kind of that combo guard role. He brings the ball up the court sometimes, can play a little bit of defense. I don't think he's a great playmaker, so I think we just pick Sion here as a cheap option and we kind of move on. So this becomes Sion James here. Cool. Alrighty, we've added him. He can kind of come in as this reserve guard here that's cheap, and we have avoided the aprons. Just barely, but we have avoided them, which means we have flexibility, and that finishes us out. I wanted to go into free agency and stuff on Fanspo, but we have a full roster actually already. So typically in videos, I'd get to do more. I've got a bunch of other things pulled up here, like minimum salary things, rookie scale deals, contracts here in case we needed to look at any of that stuff. But in this case, we made the moves already, and we've got a complete team. So let's talk about what we've done. We moved Kevin Durant, and we moved Bradley Beal. We have increased our number of draft picks considerably. They're not great draft picks, but we have assets, which are cool. These picks are no longer here. So this is what we have going forward, at least. At least we have some assets to try to put in on a future trade in some way, right? We've got a semi-competitive basketball team here. We're in the West. Odds of making the playoffs, maybe not the highest they've ever been, but you've got a solid starting five in Scottie Pippen, Devin Booker, Vassell, Jeremy Grant, Nick Richards. You picked up a Gigi Jackson, who I think legitimately can be a stud in the league. You've got a couple options at the big, which is cool. You've got quality players all throughout the bench. Matisse Thybulle, hopefully Ryan Dunn keeps getting better. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can do some things. You picked up a nice rookie in Walter Clayton Jr. This team got less expensive. We added more draft picks. Hopefully not a complete dog shit team, but more importantly, we have flexibility moving forward, because I could totally see how coming off this video you would say, AVC, this team still isn't going to probably make the playoffs this next year. Yep, you might be correct. They might not. They might not. But at least we're flexible now and we can do things going forward. So if somebody becomes available and we can make the right move, we at least now have the pieces in place to make that move happen, right? While still trying to remain competitive and put a solid enough basketball team out on the court. So I think this might be the best you can do. Phoenix is just in a really tough spot in general, but I think this is what we're looking at right now. We haven't hurt ourselves too much long term, and I think this is going to be okay. Did we go up in overall at all? We've made a really good defensive team, if nothing else. So maybe the logic we can use too is defense around Devin Booker. You have another scorer in Vassell here. Maybe a scorer in the backup point guard, Walter Clayton. It's hard to say. Maybe you get some points from G.G. Jackson. Maybe that's enough to win you some basketball games. We'll just be so good defensively that it doesn't really matter. So that's what I'm going to have to sell myself on here. But that's it, y'all. That's your Suns' ideal offseason right here. As more teams get eliminated throughout the playoffs and stuff like that, we'll do ideal off seasons for them again once we get to a certain point, probably in the middle of May. We're just going to start rattling these videos off. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, do all those things. I found sharing is really beneficial for these videos, but seriously, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love to hear them. Go join the Discord so you can get access to the sheet. Leave me your ideas for it, because there's 1,000 ways you could go about doing this, right? Probably a lot more, but as always, I appreciate you guys. Let's move on to the comment of the video. Alrighty, y'all, comment of the video is coming from this grading NBA juniors at the end of their season video. Kind of a fun one to do. And again, please go give a watch to the Do They Fit in the NBA series, favorite series to do on the channel. And they're always getting demonetized unfairly, so is what it is. But the comment of the video comes from Arrowman C3R that said, and I feel like I need to say this in a particular voice, AVC, how could you not? Shane Sharp, he jumped so high. He jumped so high. He's going to be so good. We talked about in this video that I'm like, yeah, all the commenters and NBA Twitter people are going to be, AVC, how could you not put him in the starter category? Do you know how good Shane Sharp is? Look how high he can jump. Yeah, a bunch of dum-dums, but I just appreciated that he did this. And he put the little commercial thing here. I can tell you're a real one. Good for you. But yeah, I just thought this was funny. What did I say for this? I was like, I can hear this comment. Yeah. So seriously, appreciate you guys. As you see, I reply to every single comment. I always do. Go join the Discord. Like I said, go join the Discord. Link is in the description here. But seriously, so happy to bring Ideal Offseason back to you guys. I can't wait to do more of these as they show up. And yeah, appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much.